Do you have a favourite Spider-Man moment?
Oh, it's got to be in the animated series where he's chasing Shocker up the bell tower. It's like, overacting, thy name is Spider-Man.
You can't escape me! I'll chase you to the ends of the earth!
As we've discussed on this very channel before, Spider-Man is all kinds of badass, what with his ability to punch people's faces off and stick to the Hulk's biceps. But did you know that Spider-Man's powers also make him pretty good at poker, so long as he faces the right kind of opponent?
So which of his powers is it that gives him poker power?
It is his spider sense, which most people will be familiar with, is the ability that allows Spider-Man to, dodge point-blank range gunfire and punches aimed towards his penis. But it also has a number of other, less well-known effects that allow Spider-Man to function in his role as Spider-Man in just a more efficient manner.
So in addition to warning him about actual threats coming for him at that moment,
yes,
what else does his spider sense do?
Well, the spider sense, it's nebulously defined, but throughout the years, the comics have made reference to other things Spider-Man's spider sense warns him about. And that includes, in addition to direct threats, potential threats. So say for example a person with a concealed weapon or who plans to walk up and punch him in the face. His spider sense will also give him some sort of a warning about that, which combined with Spider-Man's superior spider-like reflexes allow him to basically dodge any potential threat up to and including point-blank range gunfire to the face. Because that's one of my favourite things in the Spider-Man games, when you can start fighting enemies with guns and you just get the little thing above your head and you just dodge the bullets, and the enemy's like, I didn't expect this.
It's also the most casual dodge ever. He just sort of tilts to the
that's
side.
all he has to do, isn't it? He doesn't have to do a dramatic backflip over it, because his spider sense tells him, okay, the bullets are going to go in this arc, move your body this way. And I think there are comics where it says, oh yeah, even when Spider-Man's blind or fighting at night, he'll always be able to kick someone's ass, because his spider sense basically just gives him an edge that is almost unbeatable. But here's where we have to delve deep into the comics to get to the dumb shit, because it's not just direct physical threats that Spider-Man's spider sense allows him to dodge and avoid. Some of them are more existential threats, his identity being discovered, because it's alluded to in one comic that the reason Spider-Man is never photographed without his mask on is because his spider sense warns him if someone's nearby with a camera. Also, another, I think as well, it's said that he can use his sticky powers to keep his mask on his face.
Oh, I've heard
so if people try and pull his mask off, it just sticks to his face and they can't pull it off, which means that Spider-Man, unless he wants to be, will never be fucking unmasked in anything. So I think that you need to go one step further, like that Batman thing, where he just has the taser underneath the mask that just tases people for no reason. But in addition to that, have you ever wondered why Spider-Man can, swing through New York City without ever, falling on his ass?
Is that spider sense as well?
Yes, his spider sense also, guides where he throws his webs and tells him, where is an anchor point that you won't rip off and fall like a jackass, because that'd just be embarrassing. So that's the reason why he can basically swing through the city at 100 miles an hour without even looking where he's going, which allows him to both travel through the city safely while also not doing any damage to it. Because I'm guessing J. Jonah Jameson have a fucking field day if there were loads of people saying their windows got smashed by Spider-Man. So imagine how dangerous that'd be. In New York City, spans 300 foot in the air and he's ripping pieces of buildings off that would fall down to a street below. That's fucking dangerous, and his spider sense warns him about that as well.
Yeah, and Stan Lee's not always there to pull people out of the way.
Exactly, no, he can't do that. He can't be there all the time to do that shit. So another aspect of his power is that he never does that shit either.
So to get a bit closer to the title of the video,
yes,
how does his spider sense actually help in the game of poker?
Because Spider-Man's spider sense is so nebulous and abstract in its definition in the comics that it is noted as protecting even threats to his wallet. What a bro fucking power this is. As if it wasn't OP enough protecting him from direct and potential physical threats and threats to his privacy, it also protects his bank balance. Spider sense, man. It's the broest of all powers.
I'd love it if it helped with picking up chicks.
We must do.
We can go up to a bar and he's going to introduce himself with a particular line. It's no, don't use that line.
Yeah.
Use this line.
Well, the thing, what did he do in Spider-Man 3? Look how much he impresses Gwen Stacy, those dance moves, man. Do you think the spider sense helps him pick the dance moves? What dance moves will make you look less like a jackass? Because everyone in the bar loves it. Obviously, we as an audience think that scene's funny and stupid and hilarious, but I don't think there's anyone in that bar who's not impressed by Spider-Man in that moment, and I think his spider sense guided him. I think it must guide him in all aspects of his day-to-day life. It must guide his hips when he's having sex. I'm just now thinking though, Spider-Man's spider sense is that abstract in its applications. Does it help him in the bedroom? Because obviously, if he's like, getting down and dirty with Mary Jane, he's going to do something that she doesn't like that would cause her to, like, lash out and get annoyed at him. Would his spider sense tell him, like, where to go? Does it guide him directly towards the G-spot?
So is spider sense protecting his wallet?
Yes.
Is this something that you've basically taken 2 steps forward after learning, or does he actually play poker?
No, Spider-Man does play poker, yes, and this particular aspect of his spider sense does come in very handy, and Spider-Man himself explains it when there's a comic where he's playing like poker with the Thing, because in the Marvel universe it's stuff like the Thing has like monthly, weekly poker games that various superheroes attend, and the Kingpin turns up to one game and like obviously beats everybody except for Spider-Man, who using his spider sense can tell when Kingpin's bluffing, and Kingpin gets super fucking salt about it, and everyone's like, oh wow, Spider-Man's really fucking good at this game.
The spider sense is sounding a bit broken right now.
Oh yeah, it's OP as shit.
What limitations does it have?
There are a couple noted in the comics. One is that if it's a particular like extreme threat, it can cause Spider-Man like some discomfort, because obviously it makes it, the stronger the threat is, like the stronger the reaction, and something that's basically like immediate life imperiling will like cause him immense pain until he moves out of the way. And another weakness of it is that it only works against things or people Spider-Man actively considers to be a threat. So for example, Aunt May does not set off his spider sense, which is why I'm going to assume in some comics and in like Spider-Man Homecoming, Aunt May walks in on Spider-Man changing. Because as we've established, the spider sense allows Spider-Man to know when someone might discover his secret identity, but he doesn't see Aunt May as a threat. She wants to discover it. Same thing with Ned, which is why I'm going to say. I don't think like the filmmakers have ever like really talked about that, but that's how I read that scene. It's like, well, why wouldn't Spider-Man with like all-encompassing like radar spider sense not know someone's right there? Well, it's his best mate. Why would he think his best mate can pose a threat to him? But one of the other ones is that Venom specifically doesn't set it off, because Venom was like mentally linked with Spider-Man when he was wearing the symbiote suit, so Venom doesn't set off his spider sense, which is why Venom's one of his most dangerous adversaries, because his most useful power doesn't work against Venom, which means like Venom can get the drop on him, which is why in all of like the TV shows that they fight, Venom always sneaks up behind him, because he's the only person who can.
Run! Surprise!
He never triggered my spider sense.
So does that mean if a hero went rogue, or had reason to, they would probably be able to get at least a few punches in on Spider-Man?
Yes, and it's noted that like Spider-Man's spider sense, it doesn't work against like people he considers allies. So if say Wolverine wanted to punch Spider-Man on the dick, his spider sense wouldn't warn him about that. He might be able to dodge it because his reflexes, but his spider sense wouldn't help. And to move this back to poker, like while he can detect when the Kingpin is bluffing, he can't detect when his friends are bluffing, which is hilarious because in one comic, Spider-Man loses his spider sense and gets invited to a poker game with the Avengers, and he asks them, why don't I ever get invited to these things? And they went, oh, it's because your spider sense would let you cheat. And we're all very aware of that fact. And then Wolverine chimes in with, also you talk too much, because that's classic Wolverine. Which means that he probably just spent many an evening sat on his own, wondering why none of his friends wanted to hang out with him, because he didn't tell them how his powers worked. Because they all assumed that his spider sense would let him cheat at poker, even though it wouldn't, because of he considers them all to be his friends. It's so Spider-Man it hurts. The idea that like his own friends wouldn't invite him to like their weekly poker nights because they were afraid of him using his powers to win, even though he wouldn't. So he just sat at home on his own, going, guess I'll just like tinker with my spider tracers, I guess. And just sit there doing nothing. Oh, poor Spider-Man. So Brad, let's zero in specifically on Spider-Man's spider sense and just discuss the other shit you can probably do using it, because like if it can like protect him from something as like, abstract and innocent as a person with a camera, like you can tell him that there's a guy on the 3rd floor of a building 3 miles away with like a long zoom lens that might get a picture of your face. Don't take your mask off here. What else could his spider sense help him do? Because I'm now thinking, could Spider-Man play the stock market? Because obviously, if he can win at poker, so it's a threat to his wallet, would it tell him which stocks to pick so he wouldn't lose all his money?
Well, this is why it's so nebulously defined, because you'd assume if he can't perceive a threat from someone who's a friend, it's not a premonition.
No.
It doesn't give him the future. It just weighs up everything around him and gives him the best estimate of what's going to happen.
Yeah, well, I think the spider sense is one of the least defined like powers in all of Marvel fiction, because it's basically whatever the writer wants it to warn Spider-Man about, it'll warn him about. So I'm now thinking, like, if he can detect bluffing, can he detect when someone's lying? Which means, like, obviously, he now becomes an amazing fucking, like, interrogator or, like, lawyer or some shit. Because, like, think about if, like, She-Hulk needs a paralegal, who should she bring in? Matt Murdock, Spider-Man as well. So imagine that. Imagine bringing, like, She-Hulk bringing Spider-Man in as an expert witness. It's like, okay, Mr. Spider-Man, is this guy lying? Yes. How can you tell? Spider-Sense. Well, fuck me. Well, let's move away from that and just say in his day-to-day superheroing, let's say Spider-Man encounters someone who's been shot. Would Spider-Man be able to perform impromptu surgery on that person? Because obviously, would his spider sense guide him to not let that person die, even though he doesn't know what he's doing? So let's say he's trying to remove the bullet. Would his spider sense warn him about infection, or whether or not he's going to like nick an artery or something like that? They're all big things. So let's narrow it down to like the petty inconveniences of life. Because there are things in life that aren't necessarily like, you know, all that bothersome in the grand scheme of things. But I'm going to guess the spider sense will still warn Spider-Man. Do you think he ever gets paper cuts? So obviously it's not it's not going to kill him, is it? But at the same time, it's painful.
Yeah.
And something painful is something you want to avoid, and thereby the spider should warn him about it. Does like Spider-Man ever get hangnails? Does he ever like stub his toe? I bet he don't.
Do you reckon if he ever tries to drink, he'll spend the entire night with his spider sense to tell him to stop?
Well, I think it said in one thing he gets drunk, he can still swing home. Yeah. Like his spider sense, basically, there's one, maybe not he's drunk, but he gets knocked out or something.
Yeah.
He can fight when he's knocked out. Because his spider sense like overrides his central nervous system, allows him to fight while unconscious. Oh, I think it warns him as well. Like, do you know when he like broke up with Mary Jane or some shit? When he's walking down the road, I think it warns him if she's about to walk out of shop. Like, oh no, awkward encounter with the ex-girlfriend, spider sense to the rescue.
What if you had a label sticking out?
It must do, because that's embarrassing. Also, it's irritating. What about when he's getting a haircut? See, during they nick the back of your neck and getting a haircut. I think it warns him about it and he can just move out of the way.
Or I mean, in the same vein, it warns him if they're going to cut like a bit wrong.
Yeah.
So we've all had bad haircuts.
I think it'd warn him before he even sat down in the chair. I think he'd walk past the barber shop, look at the sign, think about getting the haircut, and then his spider sense would go off like a fire alarm in his head and go, oh shit, I'm going to get a terrible haircut.
Unless his spider sense doesn't tell him exactly what. He thinks it's a terrible haircut. Inside is like Norman Osborn with a pair of shears, just ready to take his head off.
It's so good. But it must just protect him from everything. And yet, he's still the superhero who struggles the most. It's like, how does he have a bad job? If like, I think as well, his spider sense also lets him take good photos. So that's how he gets all the good photos. So obviously, his instincts let him know when he looks.
Just explain everything with it.
It's so good. And yet he still sucks ass at everything else. How could someone be that bad at life? To get out of his excuses, he's always running late to Spider-Man. Like his spider sense must like guide the excuse to be the one that the person's most likely to believe, which is why everyone forgives him for being late all the time.
I think just forgive him because he's a sad act who can't get anything done properly.
Oh man, have you heard like the petition that's going on to give Tobey Maguire a cameo as a pizza delivery man in the next Spider-Man movie?
I heard that Tom Holland said he'd quite like Tobey Maguire to come back as Uncle Ben.
Oh, that'd be
like
great.
A flashback.
That'd be so fucking cool. Like they do that in all the shows, don't they? Like they pay homage to the old actor. I love it when they do that. But
pizza delivery guy would be hilarious.
It would, but
pizza time.
Because that means that he's still working as a pizza delivery guy, like 40 years old. It's like he's never moved on. Oh.